I'll tell you, I've been to the border. I've been to the Biden cages. For 4 years, Democrats went on and on and on. The corrupt corporate media went on and on and on about kids in cages. You couldn't turn on the evening news without hearing kids in cages. What they didn't tell you is Barack Obama built those cages, and today under Joe Biden, the cages are bigger and they're more full than they were before. Mr. President, every Democrat who stood up and lamented kids in cages in the House of Representatives, Representative Ocasio-Cortez has a famous photo of her grasping her head by the kids in cages. Well, I'm going to give a simple challenge for Representative Ocasio-Cortez and for every Democrat in this body. Go see the Biden cages with your own eyes. I've seen them, the Donna tent facility with over 4,000 people, with little boys and little girls on top of each other. Just a couple of weeks ago when I was in the Rio Grande Valley, the rate of COVID positivity in the Biden cages was over 22%.
Kids in cages dominated headlines for 4 straight years. Cameras everywhere, emotional speeches, endless outrage. But now, Senator Ted Cruz just threw down a simple challenge to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez: come see the border facilities under Biden with your own eyes. And suddenly, Democrats went quieter than a politician asked about gas prices at a Costco checkout line. So here's basically what happened.
And all the Democrats who talked about this, if they don't go, if they don't denounce the Biden cages, then they're telling you that they're hypocrites, that they didn't believe it when they said it, that they didn't care about it when they said it, that it was all politics. It wasn't about their kids. Why does Joe Biden refuse to go to the Rio Grande Valley? Because if he goes, the TV cameras will come with him. Why does Kamala Harris, who's supposed to be the border czar, she's supposed to be in charge of this, why won't she go to the Rio Grande Valley? Because if she went, the TV cameras would come and would show the Biden cages. And the Democrats are counting on the corrupt corporate media to suddenly say, nothing to see here. 15,000 Haitians under a bridge in Del Rio, nothing to see here. Anyone want to know what Joe Biden's favorite ice cream flavor is? That's the news. Never mind 1.2 million illegal immigrants. Never mind when I took 19 senators down to the border, we went out on the river and saw a man floating dead in the river who died trying to cross illegally. Never mind the South Texas farmers and ranchers, the moms who told me, I won't let my teenage kids go out on our ranch without being armed with a loaded firearm, because there's so many human traffickers and narcotics traffickers that it's dangerous for them to go out on their own ranch. Never mind the South Texas farmers and ranchers who told me at round tables how tired they are of going out and finding dead bodies. You want to understand what's happening? Say there's no crisis? Come to Brooks County. I invite every Democrat here to Brooks County. Brooks County in South Texas, it's just north of the border. Brooks County, over and over and over again, they're dead bodies of illegal immigrants. The traffickers who are bringing them in, they're not nice guys. They're not humanitarians. They don't give a damn. That means if one of the illegal immigrants is a pregnant woman, is a young child, is elderly, is sick, they just abandon them. They leave them in the rough terrain, in the summer heat, and over again. The farmers and ranchers encounter dead bodies on their property where the traffickers have abandoned them. Mr. President, I ask you, is that humane? Is that compassionate, the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris policy that encourages, that puts people in harm's way and results in people dying? When we were down on the border, we saw a young girl who had been gang raped by the human traffickers who had brought her to America. The rate of sexual assault is staggering, particularly among the girls and young women. So much so that a significant percentage of young women, before they take the harrowing trip with the traffickers, will implant a birth control because they know the odds of their being sexually assaulted are so great. And I'll tell you, as I was doing the roundtables, one of the things I saw also was the colored wristbands. So the traffickers are global cartels. The criminals, they're vicious criminals. They charge anyone, a young man, a young woman, a little boy, a little girl, thousands of dollars, anywhere from $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to cross into the United States. By the way, do you know there's 100% operational control on the border? 100% on the southern side. Nobody crosses the border without the cartel's permission. If you do, they will kill you. Every person who crosses the border does so after paying the cartels because you will be killed otherwise. But often when they come, they'll cross and they'll end up at a stash house. I've been to those stash houses. I've been out on the midnight patrols with the Border Patrol. You go into those stash houses, and they're colored wristbands that they put on the illegal immigrants. And the colors correspond to how many thousands of dollars they paid and how many thousands of dollars more they owe. Often when they get here, the cartels will say, "Thank you for your X thousand dollars, we want Y thousand more." Tragically, it is at those stash houses in the United States where many of the sexual assaults occur. And so these immigrants, many of whom are young children, teenage children, when they get here, the Biden administration delivers them to their final destination. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their administration are the last mile of the human trafficking network.
Ted Cruz gave this really fiery speech about the southern border and directly challenged Democrats, especially AOC, to actually go visit the migrant detention facilities in Texas. He specifically pointed to the Donna facility in the Rio Grande Valley and claimed conditions there are overcrowded and dangerous. Now, Cruz's core argument is honestly pretty simple. He says Democrats and major media outlets spent years hammering the Trump administration over kids in cages, but under President Joe Biden, many of those same facilities are still operating, and according to him, they're even more crowded now. And look, whether people agree with Cruz politically or not, that question is going to resonate with a lot of voters because people remember the outrage. They remember the nonstop coverage, the emotional speeches, the viral photos. You couldn't open social media without seeing it everywhere. So now people look at the current situation and go, wait, what? Why is nobody talking about this anymore? And Cruz's answer is because the people in charge changed. That's really the heart of his argument. Listening to Cruz's speech, one thing becomes clear pretty quickly. This is less about scoring policy points and more about exposing what he sees as political hypocrisy. And honestly, that's probably why the speech got so much attention, because voters can handle disagreement. What frustrates people is inconsistency. If detention facilities were morally unacceptable before, then people naturally expect the same energy now. That's just common sense. Cruz also went after the media pretty hard. He accused major news outlets of suddenly losing interest in the border crisis once the White House changed hands. Now, whether people like hearing that or not, there's a reason media trust is so low right now. Americans notice when coverage feels selective. They notice when one administration gets 24/7 outrage and another gets soft coverage for the exact same issue. And once people start feeling like the rules change depending on politics, trust disappears fast. Then Cruz made it into the darker side of the border crisis, cartel operations. And honestly, this part is hard to ignore. He talked about migrants paying thousands of dollars to smugglers and criminal groups just across the border. He described stash houses, trafficking routes, abandoned migrants, and violent abuse happening during the journey. Seriously, if even a fraction of that is true, that's horrifying. Because at that point, this stops being a normal immigration debate and starts looking more like organized criminal exploitation on a massive scale. Cruz argues that weak border enforcement creates opportunities for cartels to make billions. Seriously, if even a fraction of that is true, that's horrifying. Because at that point, this stops being a normal immigration debate and starts looking more like organized criminal exploitation on a massive scale. Cruz argues that weak border enforcement creates opportunities for cartels to make billions off human desperation. And this is where the conversation gets complicated. Most Americans are compassionate people. They understand why migrants want a better life. America has always represented opportunity and hope to millions around the world. But at the same time, people also believe laws matter. Borders matter. National sovereignty matters. And those ideas are not extreme. They're foundational. You can support legal immigration while also saying cartel-controlled illegal crossings are dangerous and unsustainable. Those two positions can absolutely exist together. One moment from Cruz's speech that really stood out was when he talked about Texas ranchers being afraid to let their kids walk alone on their own property because traffickers move through the area constantly. Now, obviously, politicians sometimes use dramatic language, sure, but the larger point still lands. Border communities are dealing with situations most people in Washington never personally experience. And honestly, that disconnect is part of why this issue keeps getting worse. By the way, if you appreciate breakdowns that actually slow things down and explain what's happening without turning into a cable news food fight, hit subscribe and join Congress Showdown. We cover the stories people are already talking about at the dinner table, just without the screaming. Another thing Cruz hammered hard was the fact that neither Biden nor Kamala Harris has spent much time publicly visiting some of the most overwhelmed border areas. And politically, optics matter. Because when leaders avoid physically showing up to a crisis, people start wondering whether they're trying to avoid solving the problem or just avoid the cameras. That's clearly the image Cruz wants stuck in voters' minds heading into future elections. Thanks for watching Congress Showdown. Hit like, subscribe, and remember, in Washington, outrage expires faster than milk in the summer. But somehow, the border crisis keeps getting renewed for another season.